Have you ever noticed how some moments stay lingering in your mind and they don't fade like others do? Some things you can just be like, oh, yeah, that you forget it. And actually, somebody, reminds you of it and you've already forgotten it. But you can move through an entire day, maybe even a week. And then suddenly there's one memory that shows up out of nowhere. I know this happens for some people in dreams where they dream about things, but this can happen in our waking life as well. Conversation, a decision, maybe a wrong turn that we made on the road, or maybe a place that we've been to, a moment that you wish had gone differently, even. I feel like those linger the most. Not loudly, not dramatically, but just persistently. It keeps on coming up. And no matter how much you try to forget it and think, you know what, time has passed, you can't do anything about it, you can't change it, your mind keeps circling back to it, and it feels like unfinished business. This wreaks havoc on your clarity in your mind. It wreaks havoc on your physical well-being. What's interesting is that most of the time, these are not the big moments. These are sometimes these really small things that we can't fix. A comment that you made quickly, unconsciously, subconsciously, whatever it may be. And maybe you hurt somebody's feeling, or a response that came out totally wrong. A moment when you didn't speak up for yourself or didn't speak up for somebody else. And even though life has moved on, it could be years later, you fully have not passed that point. You keep going back to it. You might tell yourself, it wasn't a big deal, or just forget about it. Why am I still thinking about this? But it keeps on replaying. And that is what is happening. So there's so many different examples of this. I hear this from people in all parts of their life that this happens. A work meeting that didn't go well. As someone replays a conversation with a colleague and wonders if they came across as rude or the wrong way. Or someone keeps thinking about a choice that they made when, they were exhausted and they question their judgment if it was the right thing to do. Or someone revisits a moment with a loved one and feels familiar, that tightness in the chest every time it comes up, or tears come to the surface in your eyes. And these aren't random thoughts. These are things that are stored in our body. They're signals in a way. And we have to reframe our way of thinking, the mind as a problem solver, because the mind is a problem solver. And we have to reframe this. We don't have to fix everything. Some moments happen, and they don't need a replay. The mind doesn't just replay moments because it enjoys it. Okay. It replays it because it's trying to resolve something. It's trying to figure out an answer. When an experience feels emotionally incomplete, the brain and the nervous system treats that problem as it hasn't been solved yet. So it brings it back up in hopes that we will solve it again and again, not to punish you, but to find a sense of closure. And that's where we can really start working with self-forgiveness. This is where self-forgiveness comes into our conversation. And not in the way that it's usually talked about. Self-forgiveness isn't about telling yourself, okay, you were right. It's not about that. It's about understanding that the version of you who showed up that day in that moment, that's what you knew at the time. That's how much energy you had to give to that situation or to that problem at that moment. What else were you carrying around with you that day? Have compassion with yourself. Often the replay continues because some part of you is still holding yourself accountable or to an unrealistic standard. We're all human beings. We make mistakes. Yes, we need to be responsible for our mistakes and acknowledge them. But the mind keeps revisiting these moments and hoping that you'll finally be fair with yourself. There's a great health connection with this new way of communicating with self. When these moments stay unresolved, they internally stay in the body. The body stays alert. The nervous system is constantly on. You are increasing your stress hormones. You're keeping yourself up at night. You've got tension in your jaw, tension in your shoulders, in your neck. Your breath becomes shallow. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish what's happening right now and something that happened several years ago. Because every time you relive that emotion, relive that moment, it keeps on sending your nervous system certain signals. So each replay overrides and keeps the system engaged. This is one of the reasons why mental loops feel so draining. We feel so tired. They don't stay mental. They get into the physical. This is why it's really important. I mean, I've watched this shift happen so many times in my practices as well as in my coaching clients. When people start integrating that memory and start meeting it differently, they stop looking at it and going, wait a minute, that's just who I am. That's, they judge themselves actually. And instead of asking, why did I do that? They ask, what's happening for me then? What was happening? How can I be compassionate with myself? How can I forgive myself? Asking yourself that question already makes a difference. It means that, hey, you know what? There doesn't need to be any judgment. And the mind no longer needs to keep bringing up the moment because it finally feels acknowledged. And that's very important. In the members only video, in my next video, we'll take this one step deeper. We'll talk about why certain memories stay lit up in our system and certain ones fade a lot easier, and how to work with your system so it can release what it's been holding on to. So that way you can start to feel healthier, you can be healthier and feel less tense. We'll go through practical ways to respond when these loops show up, especially during those quiet moments or late at night that are interrupting your sleep. That's where the real relief will happen. Before you go, I want to leave you today with a few questions to reflect upon. Are there specific moments that your mind returns to often? Okay. And do those moments involve self-criticism, regret, sadness, or uncertainty? And have you ever noticed how your body reacts to those memories showing up? I'd love to hear your comments. Drop a comment, share how you feel, what these moments are. You don't have to go into great detail if you don't want to, but being able to notice it, not to analyze it, really helps. That's the first step. Awareness is often the very first step towards letting something go. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.